So, Arcane, as you know, this is our new favorite show, and we love it so much. But this kind of made me, after finishing the series, remind me of another show that we also like to talk about, and some of us are very hardcore simps for. Avatar, The Last Airbender. And for me, it's just, to me, I mean, there's been I love the genre of action American cartoons. It's just a fantastic genre, and there's many good shows, but the impact Arcane had on me, I have not got that impact from the American Western side, not anime side, on a television series since Avatar. So today I want to talk about some similarities that I've solved from that, as well why these both shows are really good shows, and why that, to me, I think that Arcane might be our next Avatar: The Last Airbender. So let us
You heard it here first.
Welcome to our TED Talk.
Yeah,
Fresh off the press.
Fresh off the press, yeah. So let's begin. One small thing to me, and I want to get this out. Whenever I think of Milo, I feel like he reminds me of Sokka for whatever reason.
Yeah, he
like,
does.
He's like it's like if Sokka. He's basically what would happen if Sokka got killed in the first.
Avatar didn't have the balls to kill Sokka, so.
Yes. But I guess one thing that they both have that they do pretty well is that both of these shows are very ambitious, very creative and unique style, have high quality with its animation. Even though Avatar was older and it was came in 2000, it still was good quality for its that time. As well as just like the world building is very well versed and stuff like that. So that's one thing I want to talk about. Like, how do you guys feel about that? How can you see these like parallels in terms of the ambitions and qualities and like them trying to like not trying to be a typical show?
Yeah, well, the thing, format is something we have to talk about, right? Because an Arcane episode is what, like 40 to 50 minutes long?
Yeah.
And then an Avatar episode's about 20 something.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. But Avatar book 1 had how many episodes?
It had 20 episodes.
20. So that means, I guess, if you crunch the numbers, it's about the same length.
Yeah.
So just talking about the first books, I definitely think Arcane beats out Avatar for the first.
Let me make this clear. This is not a comparison in terms of which one's better, right? I want to make sure this is clear, because for me, when it comes to television, action, animated, or all series, every story has its unique thing and what makes it a great story, and we have to also take in context that certain shows, for example, this Arcane is mainly for a mature audience,
right?
While Avatar's for a younger audience. So a lot of times, the fact that Avatar was talking about mature topics, that's more of a surprise to us, versus Arcane, we kind of have an expectations for that. So that's why I don't want to make this is this better and this better?
That's a good point. Scott said what he said.
Yeah, so
that's on the record.
I want to make it clear to the audience as well, because another thing is I don't also want to undermine other good shows that come out to be like, oh, are you basically saying that you never watch a good Western animated show than Avatar? No, I will acknowledge there's been many good shows. It's just that the reason why I'm comparing these two shows specifically is because I feel like there's certain things that they did that is why it's going to have a very big impact. And that's why I'm like bringing up these parallels together right now. So
and it'll become something similar to Avatar.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
We're not comparing the two because it's not a fair comparison.
Let's not be there, all right?
Yeah.
Just want to make it clear.
So we know where Scott stands.
We'll have that stricken from the record.
Who knows? Maybe for fun, we'll just have a debate on which one's better, Avatar or Arcane. Keep in mind,
Let us know.
Keep in mind, Arcane hasn't finished too, so that's another thing. So I don't want to also compare a show that hasn't finished itself, because things can. But
right. Okay. Let me continue.
As I was saying.
Yeah, I should have said that.
So for me, the pacing of Arcane was like perfect, I felt. There's just a lot of things about it that always kept my interest, and there was a lot of progress for each character as well as the story. So that's what made it like great. But also for Avatar, I feel like I needed the other books for me to love the story as much as I.
Oops, we're doing this comparison now. It really became a comparison.
It's not a comparison. I'm saying
he's
like,
supporting his argument.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to argue that
or
one
his
is better
first
than the
statement.
other.
All right, statement.
I'm saying the strengths of the shows. I feel like Avatar as a whole is the story arc, like that long burn is what made me love it.
That's the
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
Avatar is a slow burn. Like you can consider it that. Whereas Arcane they put everything all in at once. Even though they had the breaks, but yeah, you can argue that they kind of just like went for it from the get-go with season 1 versus Avatar, which is like kind of gave us a taste of what was to come and give us like a bigger like world building thing, because we don't even travel to all the places in the Avatar universe in like the first book, you know.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that you mentioned earlier, Chuku, was the world building. And that was a fantastic element in both of these shows. Avatar, you get the sense of this grand world, even though at the beginning you're introduced to this little town in the South Pole. And in Arcane, we have that same effect almost, where you're introduced to this underworld that is simultaneously living alongside this upper world, and you have these class distinctions, and you have a sense of not only the world that they inhabit, but the social dynamics that are going on as well. And then even outside of them, there's a larger world that we don't even really understand the scope of yet, but we understand like this place is kind of a hub of commerce for this larger world that surrounds them, and it sets the stage for the future of the show in a very interesting way. And so I think that similar to how Avatar was able to stay contained for a little bit but still make reference to a larger world, especially with like this imposing Fire Nation that we really don't see much of in the first season of Avatar, you get that sense of there's a huge world out there that we want to see. We want to see more of. And I think that Arcane did a great job of that, especially towards the end of this first season of Arcane, where we get a little bit more connections and references to the world outside.
Yeah,
of
and I'm gonna
where they
piggyback off of that a little bit, because they do hint at a bunch of worlds, and I think this season was really focused on the Undercity and Piltover, but they used all this technology, and they talk about the Hex Gates, I think since episode 4, but we've never really was shown how the Hex Gates were used,
Right.
and I think that is a potential where season 2 is gonna go to. And it's like, Heimerdinger I think is from a different world. Mel is from a different world. She originally wasn't a part of Piltover,
Right.
and her family too. You see her mom come in off of this crazy spaceship that reminded me of Dune, and she talks about like conquering like these worlds and cities, and that's where her mom is from, and they like take a bunch of sorry.
I was gonna say I'm glad you brought up like Dune as like a comparison, because like you explaining how they kind of like set up like Piltover to be like a hub for like the world at large, like kind of like gave me Dune vibes. Like when I think about it like fully, which is cool because like like more politics, more like war and stuff might come up in the future. And yeah, they do mention like other races too. They mention like Noxians, like other places. And yeah, the setup is there, and it's what we need to keep us interested for like future seasons.
And not to mention we only get a taste of magic in this first season.
Exactly.
And that's a
It's
big
not even
thing
magic,
where
it's science. Like,
yeah, well they're kind of trying to use
Hex
magic
tech.
or use science to control magic, but there's clearly an element of there's a magical element in this world that we haven't really seen much of. We've seen a little bit of it, but we haven't seen much of it. And so
Arcane.
yeah, and
It's
so
in the
we're gonna
name.
that's something to look forward to as well. And I think that this first season of Arcane did a great job of setting up the world.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we are now just excited to explore
I feel
it.
like we have to acknowledge the differences, right? So for Avatar, it's more adventure than Arcane is.
Yeah.
Because we're traveling
Yeah.
Yes.
every single episode.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
To different locations.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's sort of building up the world versus just building up one place.
Yeah, exactly.
And Arcane does that very, very well.
Exactly.
Where they're building up this one place, making it like a character in the
In
story.
this
Yeah.
first season.
Yeah, exactly.
In this first season.
Exactly, as far as
Yeah.
the first season goes.
But for Avatar, even in book 1, it's just everywhere. They're going
Yeah,
everywhere.
everywhere, yes.
So
Yeah.
they do it so well though, in their own like
Yeah.
ways,
Yeah.
Yeah.
making the
agree.
world come to life.
Yeah, it's kind of bringing me up to my next point, because the first point was just talking about the ambition, the creativity within it. But my next point goes back to, and this is where I think they have the most parallel similarities, which is the issues, right? Both of these shows are dealing with political politically and social issues. Although Avatar, we know the main political issues. Let's just destroy this tyrant, and that goes back to the show. But at the same time, both of them are these issues that we can relate to in our life.
Destroy? Did you just say destroy this tyrant?
Well, basically, not like destroy doesn't mean kill. It means
Ang does not approve.
It doesn't mean kill. I didn't mean kill.
Everyone
Say
except for
name.
Egg wanted to
Name.
destroy the tyrant.
Yeah, basically, but
Destroy is a strong word.
yes, it's destroy is a strong word, but it don't mean kill. But my point is going with that being said is just the idea that these are like number two representations, because both of those shows, they both have strong representations of different cultures and ethnicities, and even, I mean, if we want to put core in it, we can say, sexual orientations. This with Arcane also does that as well. But like that kind of idea is well doing with the political and social issues. Those were the two things I definitely see with these shows, that they're both fantasy, action, dealing with magic and all that. But just because we have these magic powers doesn't mean we can't have certain issues of like racism or classism,
right,
or even
Yeah. And orphans too.
Yeah, exactly. And that to me was another thing that was like a big thing. So like, how's your guys' opinion on these both shows dealing with these issues in terms of social issues and political issues?
I think that's one of the things that made Avatar so special, is that it dealt with those issues in a kids show in a way that was not boring. Like it dealt with it in a way that was it was interesting, and it kept you involved, engaged. And it's something that even watching it as an adult, you can still really very much appreciate. And I think that Arcane, because it's geared towards a more adult audience off rip, I think it's almost an expectation that they deal with some of those issues. And I think that they did a good job so far dealing with those issues. But we'll see how that continues. The whole, Piltover versus the Undercity is in itself a social issue of like, the
Classism.
the rich versus the poor. It's like it's Parasite. It's like it's that whole distinction. So I'm interested in seeing how that goes, especially with how the first season of Arcane left off. If we go to war between these two cities, how that's gonna look.
Yeah, and I think war is a great element to bring up, right? Because we get to have like Zuko see the sides of people in Ba Sing Se or people in the Earth Kingdom, like refugees and whatnot, and also experience that, like knowing where he came from before. It's a great story arc. And then we also have elements of that with, I suppose, Jace a little bit, where he's always been higher class, so he never had to see any of that stuff, and also Heimerdinger.
Yeah.
So just two elements of both of these shows that sort of are great.
Yeah. Heimerdinger is left off living with the people in the Undercity, and Jace is. It still seems like he's a little bit naive.
Yeah. I feel like a better example is like Kate, because she's really down
That's
there
true.
with
Yeah.
Vi, like meeting everyone,
Kate is
doing
a
her
perfect
best to
character,
like
exactly.
blend in and help out.
Yeah.
But I agree, Jace is still
Still a little bit naive.
wild card. Yeah.
But also Victor too, because he was originally
Victor.
from the
Yeah,
Undercity, and he
perfect.
moved up with the academy, and
That's true.
And like you kind of see his struggles and his moral dilemma because he is for the Undercity, and he's trying to make a change. But I think bringing it back to your first point, Chuku, about how Arcane can be the next Avatar, I think it's a good point, because all of these things that we're talking about, and in comparison to Avatar, there are definitely some similarities, and there's definitely some huge topics that are being relayed in Arcane. And in terms of like Arcane having a movement, having that community, I think it's possible. The more seasons there are, I mean, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of world building, in terms of issues, there's definitely some hot topics in there, and I think this can be the next big thing too.
Yeah. And I always talk about like style in things, 'cause I'm really in style and media. But they both have like a really unique style that they lean into, that they don't shy away from. Like Arcane is steampunk. We've seen steampunk things before. There are comparisons to like Treasure Planet or other things,
Yeah.
and like obviously it's based on the game that there's lore on. But Arcane, is so within itself, like a contained story, that it's just its own thing. Like it is really different from like any other League stuff that we've seen. And it's cool to see them lean into it with like the score, the music, like the character designs. And Avatar was the same way. It was really not anything we'd seen before, and
Yeah.
maybe not like anything we'll see again, because there was, you know, obvious Asian influences, and they like cover like the different types of like Asian Pacific Islander like culture basically within the different nations. But like the score, the music was so good. Avatar was like through and through just a great stylized piece of content because of just every single aspect of the show like all fits back into the theme, into the time, and just the atmosphere.
I like how you bring that up because I think at that point in time when we're all little kids watching Avatar was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
it really was ahead of its time. And then I think watching Arcane now and thinking back on it, I feel like it can be ahead of its time.
I mean, I
But
feel like it
that,
kinda
it
is.
it is because
I want to wait to see the other seasons and really
Yeah, that's
see
fair,
like
fair.
is it ahead of its time? You know, like
Yeah.
is it too much hype right now?
No, I think it is ahead of its time because
I feel like
it's like kind of it's good for like a general audience. Like even though it's like meant for like we said like more mature audience, it's still I think like you know like a younger audience could watch it too, right? It's like still kind of on the cusp between like your average like action adventure American animated show where like we're seeing some edgier things now like with Invincible and like I don't know other adult animated things, but like Arcane it kind of reminds me of like Love, Death and Robots but like with like a great story on top of it.
Yeah.
And like we are seeing I feel like American animated shows evolve and change. I feel like the last like kind of like envelope pushing like crazy cool thing was like Aeon Flux, which was like an MTV like animated show that was very like future. It was like cyberpunk themed and like every episode was like not a connected story. But like Arcane is the first time we're seeing something super stylish and adult and like all come together with a great story that's meant for like everybody really.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And to your point, Christine, like asking if it's like overhyped or too hyped or whatever. I feel like we asked that about a lot of things, but I think this is not one of them.
Yeah.
This is like for certain not overhyped.
deserves more.
It deserves more hype.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. I do love the show, and I think that's just me. Like I feel like I doubt myself sometimes.
Don't doubt yourself.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to bring another point because both of these shows do this, and it's funny because I feel like they do the inverse of it. It has to do with the character arc, and I want to compare Jinx with Zuko because I feel like, in my opinion, Jinx is if Zuko was with Team Avatar but had no Iroh, and he just fucked up and he just said, "I'm gonna go the other way." Because I feel like that's what I like about both of their character
She's
arcs.
the anti-Zuko.
Basically, in some ways, yeah, it's like that kind of character arc where it's like they take it's like a good person. Where Jinx, it was like a good person turning bad. Zuko was like a bad person turning good. So I feel like they both nailed it, hit on the hell with it, and it's like it's understandable. You can see why they do the moves they move and pick the actions they take. So that was a big thing for me that I noticed that had big parallels.
That reminds me of like a tweet that I saw that was like, oh, like, should we give this character a redemption arc or like a going evil arc? And then the person's like, I don't know, whatever one's sexier. And it's like, that makes sense. Like, if it's a good story and it's great and we like feel for them, like, doesn't matter. Like, it's just going to be incredible to see. And it's like, sure, descend into madness. I love it. Or like, get redeemed. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how Powder Jinx develops in the future of the show. So I'm looking forward to it as somebody who is not familiar with League stuff at all. I don't never knew these characters.
Yeah, none of us do.
And bringing that up, there's already a community and fan base out there because of League. So maybe maybe you're right. Like Avatar started from nothing. There wasn't a fan base.
Yeah.
And Arcane, like it already had people like backing behind. This was like teased like in League, like music videos and stuff. So yeah, maybe it is. It probably will be the next big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair, Avatar had Nickelodeon, right?
It did, and you can make. See, I like to say they both have their own like unique strengths to it coming in. Like for example, with Nickelodeon, they didn't have any action action cartoons, let alone anime-looking cartoons. So Avatar itself, like I remember the first time
Danny
when
Phantom.
it wasn't not action anime. You get my
Wait,
point.
Jackie Chan Adventures, wasn't that on Nickelodeon?
No, it was not on Nickelodeon at all.
Was it like 4Kids maybe?
That was on WB.
WB.
But my point going with that is that, like, for me, when I first saw the quote unquote commercial, and this was like November of 2004. Again, my big thing was like, oh, there's finally anime in Nickelodeon. That was my big selling point. I didn't care about what it is, so I was like, I'm gonna watch it no matter what, right? So that's a whole different thing. And then all of a sudden it became this as great as big as it can be, right? And then now with Arcane, one thing about it is like, again, like I said, the production value of it, because the production value is really, really like nice. Like sometimes it reminds me of like Pixar, and sometimes it's like, dang, it's like these look too realistic at some points, which is good. So it's like that has an advantage of that, and also it's an adult show, so they can go more on these hard things versus like Avatar, it's tough with it. But that being said, with what they use, which is why I'm comparing it to each other, they both utilize their strengths to the point where it's like, we're going to take advantage of it. It's not just, oh, we have freeway. We're like, okay, let's abuse as much as we can. And this is where the outcomes comes out of it, where we get both great television.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do want to also mention that to be fair with the differences, they both have different philosophies and goals, because Avatar, for the most part, it is sort of like, because it's Eastern philosophy, it's more about like self-discovery, self-development, all that kind of stuff.
And like a sense of community also.
Yeah.
Working
the
together.
Journey and all that. So it is kind of that. So it, you know, they're going to be lenient towards the more like, this is going to make you a better person, versus Arcane is more about the hardships and the conflicts.
Yeah,
of
it is like a
society.
Western story, because it's all about like, you know,
They're trying to like create progress in the
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Jace is always talking about like, oh, like we're creating this and that.
The
Like
next
I'm always,
big thing.
I'm about hard work and
Yeah.
like contributing to society.
Yeah.
That is like a very like, oh, your own personal, like what you put in is what you get out. That is a very Western story.
Yeah, it is a Western story, and I know people can make a parallel to Korra, because Korra was more steampunk, but I feel like Avatar is what I want to do, because then it's gonna be a whole like, well, Korra is not as great as Arcane, yeah. But
I thought this wasn't a comparison video.
yeah, I know. That's partially why I didn't want to bring it. But my point is, yeah, both of them have two different goals that they're trying to achieve. But to me, the reason why, again, I put them together was just like, again, it's been a while for me to get a Western action cartoon that was very, you know, well built up, well paced, and that was like, again, impactful. And the last one was Avatar for me.
Yeah, we've been waiting, because like obviously anime has always been like ahead of the curve with
exactly.
like mature themes in animated shows, whereas like Western culture, I don't know, there's just like less of an interest out of it.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I guess that you could say like maybe they're capitalizing off the like interest of people in anime, but like it can't even really be compared to anime Arcane.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is like a Western story, like,
It is.
and I don't know, it's just a testament to like the kind of interest that there is in this kind of content. And I think if we're saying like, oh, is it the next Avatar, if we're talking about the impact that it had on like storytelling and stuff like that, I think it could be. I think it could be the next Avatar, because it's gonna affect, you know, the content that comes out after, with like the interest that it's garnering. So
Arcane season 1, best anime of the year.
Well,
I'm saying it's not. It's really
Yeah, I know you're saying that. It's
any
not.
last thoughts, guys?
An
Attack on
anime.
Titan.
I guess my final thoughts, because I didn't
once
really.
Attack on Titan hits.
My final thoughts that I didn't bring up, but I want to talk, because again, I love these genres of television, is that Arcane, one thing that people don't really talk about, and maybe we might make a video, is like the fights, because I feel like fights are well good here. Like it's not
Well made.
well made,
structured.
perfect, well structured,
Well-paced.
well paced. You
Perfect.
feel
Great
it.
choreo.
Yeah, great
The
choreo.
slow-mos
all
are
that
good
stuff,
in there too.
all that, and it's just like, again, that's what I mean when it's like, because it's not like for example, like, again, I love Young Justice, right, and I love, like, you know, Spectacular Spider-Man and all those other shows, but I just feel like those shows, it's not to say that they're bad or whatever, it's just that they never had, maybe for whatever they never had like the budget to really go big. But this show, again, it's a world building show too.
Yeah.
We just
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
get that with Western anime cartoons enough, where it's like, we have this big world building, we have this big budget, we're gonna put a big impact in it, we're gonna make sure everything's on point. It's not like the acting is lesser than the fighting, and the fighting's lesser than the music. And it's
that's a testament to this show in particular, because this is the best, like some of the best animation
You're
that
right.
Yeah.
there is.
Exactly.
And they clearly, like, you can see the effort and the finances that go into just the creation of the show. And then the story on top of that is solid. The characters are solid. Whereas, you know, Invincible earlier this year is like, it's a good story, it's a cool story, it's a great story, but like the animation it's not
not there.
special at all.
Exactly.
And so we have those things with animation all along, but it's great that we have this
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
Arcane
solid
is the most
combination.
well-rounded that
Exactly.
I've
It really
seen
is.
in a long
Exactly.
time, and
Exactly.
I'm sure it has to do with the budget, you know, and,
Exactly.
and
I
a
was
great,
gonna bring
great
that up,
team, obviously.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up, but I was just like, no, Juku doesn't want to make it.
Oh, you can bring it up. You can bring up Invisible Badass.
Oh,
Alright,
are we
guys.
referring it to Avatar?
All in
but
all.
the animation in Arcane is much better than in Avatar.
Yes, we can say, we can show whatever.
Okay.
But my point is,
Yeah.
again, I have not seen something as well made overall since Avatar. That's just my opinion.
Right,
My
right.
opinion. I feel like everything that's past it has not been overall well made like that in terms of the Western animated cartoon action. So
Yeah. Props to the Arcane team, Netflix Riot, y'all popped off.
All in all,
uh,
guys, this is a solid show. You guys should definitely watch it if you haven't. But we
sure
do
you have.
I think everyone here at this table believes wholeheartedly that this will be the next big thing, probably the same as Avatar, or maybe even better.
Yeah,
So
I
we'll
hope,
see.
I hope so. I feel like I agree with you, Juku. Just final thoughts, but I do think Young Justice like season 2 and season 1 are like up there for me.
I mean,
for sure.
I guess we get a little side tangent with this. Again, Young Justice is quality. It's just, I guess for me, it's like it's more of the world building aspect, because it's like Young Justice is meant to be more of a. Even they said the show, it's meant to covert. They're not trying to do big major things. They're kind of trying to do small things that have big ramifications. Versus
Yeah.
this show, Arcane, I could see it trying to do more like
There will definitely be side stories for Arcane.
but
Yeah.
it's definitely trying to have like big impact. That's what I guess that's what
It
I'm
was
saying.
just to your statement, like since Avatar released, right?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
shows
Yeah.
have sort of like made me feel something.
All right.
Okay,
Yeah,
in terms
yeah,
of
yeah.
feeling, sure, like, but
Yeah.
I guess in terms of that impact, like that big
Yeah.
budget impact.
This is about impact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. But like, of course, like I said, that's why I said.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention it.
Okay,
That's
fair
it.
enough. That's fair. That's fair.
We good, we good.
Fair, it's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right,
Again,
thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to
Yeah.
like
Oh,
and subscribe
that's
if you
right.
enjoyed the video.
and peace.
Later.
Last thoughts.